Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I really wish on your behalf to thank them for the way in which they addressed you. They've done themselves, their families, and their school proud. Girls, that's fantastic. Well done. Being part of this project has been one of the most rewarding and energizing activities of my career in education. Listening to the girls, you can see why. How many more like them are there out there? In addition, everyone speaks to about the trust has the same wow reaction, and we've already had significant support. I'm passionate about public education in this country. I cannot believe that what has happened in education in South Africa denies the vast majority the rights that we enjoy at this school and take for granted. It's wonderful that we're able to expand that group and have more girls coming in. But what about the rest? Since having been involved in fundraising, I've discovered several quite mind-boggling things. Firstly, there's a total of about 4 billion rand annually in the combined corporate social investment budgets of major South African companies. And this figure apparently excludes donations by charitable trusts, private donations, and government expenditure. There's no significant coordination of this expenditure. So what I want to do is volunteer to make myself the Minister of CSI budgets and pour that into public education. Secondly, and this reinforces that point, if you look on the SARS website at their list of public benefit organizations, of which the Ruth First Trust is an example, there are apparently about 70,000 of them. Now I say that because I haven't counted them myself, but I quote a good authority. Each of these organizations, many doing truly outstanding work, has infrastructural costs to keep them running. So a whole lot of that 4 billion goes into running NGOs. It's quite an industry. And then in addition to that, there's a whole group of middlemen, women many as well, professional fundraisers, proposal writers, report writers, and project researchers. And they are really the gatekeepers who prevent the unconnected from gaining access to these funds. It's quite formidable to get through these gates and to get access to the 4 billion. Imagine if one all got through and what one could do with it. So the consequence of these factors is that the actual amount of CSI money that actually goes directly to the so-called needy is alarmingly low, and in some cases below 20%, startlingly. And so in light of those facts, why would I appeal to you to support the Ruth First Jeppe Memorial Trust? I think the evening itself has a lot of impact, and I don't want to detract from that. But firstly, it's widely acknowledged in the literature on sustainable funding that in the medium to long term, the most effective expenditure is providing young women with a university entrance matric. Her subsequent income earning potential will raise the income profile of her whole community. Apparently it's a waste of money nearly supporting the boys, because we buy cars and we have many other status symbols. The girls pour their resources back into their communities. Here at Jeppe Girls, we are consistently achieving over 95% university entrance pass rates. Indeed, in 2008, every single matriculant at this school obtained a university entrance matric. Now, we're not talking about pass rates here, ladies and gentlemen. The national pass rate is dismal. I'm talking about university entrance rates that come from the school. And we're not the only example of that. There are other public schools providing an equivalent quality of education. Many of them, of course, are girls' schools. And I believe that these schools are national treasures. Our government should be doing everything to support them and should be pouring resources into making them stronger, but also should be challenging them to take others with them. So if there are 100 brilliant schools, that's not enough. We need 200, we need 400, we need 800. That needs expertise and funds. And then also, there seems to be a shift in the way funding community has looked at initiatives lately. They want to give to projects with a proven track record, with experienced trustees, with reputations of integrity, and with a high proportion of project money being spent on what the donors actually intended, without having to spend even more money on monitoring the projects. It will be clear that this project has all the elements one would be looking for. Firstly, it honors one of South Africa's great heroines, an old girl of the school. The school has an extremely impressive academic track record, as you heard. Young women attending the school can virtually be guaranteed a university entrance matric, thereby becoming the most significant agents for change in their communities. The proportion of donations spent on infrastructural expenditure by this trust is very low. For example, this function has been sponsored tonight. The audiovisual that you saw didn't cost the school anything. So how can you contribute to the fund? In your information pack, there's quite a lot of information that will help you to do that. And as you heard on the audiovisual, our initial goal is to have income enough for 10 girls a year. That would mean 50 girls over 5 years, and at current rates, that would be around about R1 million a year coming in to fund those scholarships. So that's quite a challenge. In addition, we've found that our recruiting for the Ruth First Trust is hampered by the fact that there are no hostels at Jeppe Girls. Historically, the school has balked at opening hostels, but perhaps the time has come. We speak to people regularly. They cannot understand that there's a hostel at the prep school and there are hostels at the boys' school, and Jeppe Girls has none. So families would be split up if they wanted to come here. And I'm sure that you'd agree that apart from perhaps scholarships for 50 girls, that a hostel named after Ruth First sounds entirely appropriate. Not that she was a boarder, because she lived just around the corner in Latona Street. On the sheet inside your folder, it shows that you can ask to be put on the mailing list, although I think I've got everybody's addresses here. You're invited to become a friend of the trust. You're invited to become a scholarship sponsor. A friend of the trust would be a person who would make a one-off or a regular contribution, maybe via debit order. A scholarship sponsor would be a person who would say, I will take the funding of a girl for 5 years. So the funding needs to be committed for that period of time. And then we would also like corporates to consider becoming what I've called anchor sponsors and providing the capital input. And then perhaps also, long term, there would be people who would be interested in leaving money in their wills. Schools like ours have no endowment capital, and it's time that that changed. So I believe that everyone in this audience, and many beyond it, will be in a position to support this brilliant project of enabling deserving young women to achieve their academic potential and thereby honoring the memory of Ruth First in a practical way. Special thanks again goes to Justice Sachs for his willingness to not only be a patron, as you heard, he broke all his rules, but for being willing to come and speak to us tonight, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you to Ms. Gonzalez and the school for hosting this event. Legally, the trust is a separate entity, but obviously we piggyback on the school, as it were, and it's very nice to be able to have the support of the school for all the infrastructural needs. Thank you to the trustees who serve the trust and give the integrity that trusts require. Thank you to the scholarship recipients, the 6 new ones. In 2 months, they'll be in their black and white blazers. In a year's time, there'll be a new batch, and they'll be the old hands, not looking as nervous as they were earlier tonight. And thank you to each of you for attending this function tonight. I hope you've really enjoyed it. I hope you've been challenged, motivated, and inspired. I hope you have a sense of what can be done with channeling public funds into the right places. Thank you very much. And although this concludes the formal part of the program, we really would like it if you would stay behind, mingle, enjoy refreshments, make new friends, meet up with the old ones, get your photograph taken with one of the girls. Thank you very much indeed.